A lot of people talk about the ideology of decentralization, but these are the early adopters. And I think where the next billion users are, they don't really care about that. They care about, is it effective? Is it easy to use? And is it going to save me money? So at the end of the day, I think if we want to bring the next billion users in, whether they're in Middle East or Africa or America, it's going to be about generating yield and making it easy to access.
Dear crypto community, blockchain blades across the globe, welcome back to Kryptonites, the No BS blockchain channel built with the community and for the community. And today we have another mind-blowing guest, Brad Harrison, the CEO of Venus, one of the most popular Binance Smart Chain projects. Brad, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So Brad, Paris, sunshine, wine, how are you feeling today?
Amazing. Yeah, it's beautiful weather, great time to be in Paris. It's been a great conference, absolutely. Yeah.
It's been a great conference, meeting great people, lots of great people. And today I'm really looking forward to this because I've been a user of the Venus platform myself. But before jumping into that, you just told me something really interesting about your TradFi days and making you want to jump into DeFi days, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, our origin journeys into crypto. And going back into 2017, I was working at a big bank. Probably some of us, a lot of us back in the days, if you're working at a big bank, you're probably feeling a little bit tired. One day, I'm kind of like shooting the shit with my boss in product management at this big bank. And he asked me if I own Bitcoin, and I said no. And his reaction was like, "You don't own Bitcoin? Like, are you an idiot?" And I was like, "Damn, my boss at this big bank says I should own Bitcoin. I got to get into it." So I started looking at ICOs. The timing was perfect because the ICO wave started happening, and I just got completely fascinated by all of the projects coming on. Of course, there was like tons of scamware. But it was just really exciting to see all the people that were starting to jump on board. And so once I learned about that wave, I kind of hit the road and I never looked back. And so yeah, that's kind of when I got red-pilled, ironically, by my boss at the big bank. Yeah.
So I'm sure that was over drinks, no? For him to share such a secret from a traditional bank, saying, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, it was just business as usual, but just shooting shit, yeah.
That's amazing. So you just mentioned that you were fascinated by DeFi. Can you tell us one of the specific components that made you feel like, oh man, this is mind-blowing, like your purpose in this space?
Yeah. So I did get really excited by seeing all of the different ICO projects that were coming on board. And people, it was driven mostly by speculation, right? But the first time I heard about DeFi, I knew that this was it, because this is what brings real utility and value. And this is what's going to take the technology to the people and help us to actually experience the benefits of it. So in terms of yield or in terms of saving money, we have yet to really experience it. And the fact is, like, we're just at the beginning, as everybody knows, right? So first time I heard DeFi, I knew this was going to be it. And so I feel like very honored to be like working in DeFi now and to try and be bringing it to more and more audiences. There's still a lot of education to do.
You guys really put the Binance Smart Chain on the map. I mean, you were one of the first, you were the star application, right, on the Binance Smart Chain. Why BSC and not ETH? Obviously, we know there's gas fees but was there a particular reason that made you feel like, okay, we want to build on Binance Smart Chain and not other?
Yeah, I call Ethereum the Beverly Hills of blockchains. Especially if you look at the footprint and where the users are coming from, it's mostly North America and Europe. But what really fascinated me about BNB Chain is the fact that it's in the developing world. It's in Africa. It's in Latin America. It's in Asia. And I think this is where the technology and blockchain and crypto, all of its promises have the most benefits, right? So I'm proud that that's where the adoption is and that we can be serving people, the protocol can be serving people in these regions. So important, right? So for me, BSC is very cool because it has the most user adoption out of any blockchain. And I think, I'm not sure how many people know that, but it's something to be paying attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. Transaction volumes, like in terms of trading transaction, in terms of TVL, right? There are many days that you guys were way above Ethereum, right?
That's right. I think the number one project on BSC exceeds all transaction volume on Ethereum combined, which is very impressive. So it tells you how much value BSC is actually delivering in terms of real usage and adoption.
And I was one of the defenders back in the days because everyone's like, oh, but they're sacrificing decentralization. But I said, yes, but at the cost of bringing in inclusion.
Right.
Which, would you agree that the main problem from TradFi was inclusion and not necessarily centralization, decentralization?
100%. And decentralization is why we're all here, right? But at one extreme, it does come with some trade-offs. BNB chain is moving towards being more decentralized, but it also comes with benefits. I think there's some really interesting things that are happening to ensure the security of funds on big BNB chain projects. So that's another reason why I'm really happy that Venus is focused on BNB chain. Because if you're on an Ethereum and there's a hack, there's a rug pull, that's it, right? So these are some of the other considerations people should be thinking about. And of course, transaction fees are another one, right? I used to get paid by a DAO with airdrops, and it was just hundreds of dollars just for me to get my payment, from the airdrop into the swap and then off ramp it. It was like hundreds of dollars in transaction fees. So I was like, this is too much.
And like you said, like in developing countries, my dad lives in Tehran, and when you get an average salary of $600 to $700 a month, 20, not even $100, even $20 is just cutting off a lot of people around the world.
For sure.
Relative to us who are privileged to live in, more developed countries like this.
Exactly.
Right?
And a lot of people, they talk about the ideology of decentralization, but these are the early adopters. And I think where we're going, the mainstream audience, where the next billion users are, they don't really care about that. They care about, is it effective? Is it easy to use? And is it going to save me money? Yeah. Period. So at the end of the day, I think if we want to bring the next billion users in, whether they're in Middle East or Africa or America, it's going to be about generating yield and making it easy to access.
Question of the week. What are the most fascinating token utilities or token economics you've seen through a project? Let us know below and give us examples to be eligible for a reward. Woo! Generating yield is the next topic that I want to bring you to, because that's something that you guys do extremely well. By the way, the best UX I've had, especially in the early days, right, where everything was so complicated,
Thank you.
Very slick. In terms of the yield, a lot of people out there, especially from TradFi, right, they're wondering, how do they generate such yield? Because you guys had days where it was 30, 40% on BNB. The Polkadot yields right now are really exciting. How do you guys manage to create such amazing yields?
Yeah, so the protocol works on an algorithmic basis, meaning that the more demand there is for something to borrow, the more yield there's going to be for that same asset, right? And depending on market fluctuations, there's going to be demand a lot to borrow some specific asset, like BNB if there's a launchpad event, right? Or DOT if people are excited about a particular new launch on DOT. And so that's going to drive up the yield. So when users pay attention to these events, like, oh, there's this new dApp coming up on DOT, or there's a BNB launchpad event, they're going to see the yield skyrocket on Venus. And so that's a good time to stake your coin there. And it's just, it's like you said, it's easy to do. So it makes total sense for people to pay attention and to just bring their coin onto Venus to stake.
And in terms of sustainable yields, so these events kind of they have these fluctuations, right? What is the approach, the next step for Venus that you want to bring in? What is your view on this, the sustainable yield?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Stable yield is something that's definitely going to be coming to Venus. It's important for people to have something that's reliable in terms of yield, 100%. And for me, I want to expand the use cases that decentralized lending can offer. Right now, it's just over collateralized. In time, we're going to see under collateralized loans. And in time, we're going to see use cases for decentralized lending that institutional banks can use, commercial banks, retail users can use for their everyday lives. And given the pace of innovation that we're seeing and the excitement and the liquidity that's being onboarded now, none of us expected to see the changes and the movement that we're experiencing, a couple years ago. So it's just going to be exponential. And in a matter of time, we're going to be talking about liquidity in terms of trillions and not billions. So DeFi is here to stay, for sure.
That's amazing, and I'm sure that's your role at the moment, right? Let's bring in more players and make this, not just a degen thing, right? Because it's kind of like limited to a fraction of society, right? Relative to all the potential there is.
Exactly. Degen, they're the early adopters, right? But now let's start catering to the mainstream. Who are the next billion users? How can we make it effective for them? And so, yeah, the DeFi rocket ship, the engines are just getting powered up. So
awesome, man. So transitioning to XVS, the token. Tell me a little bit about the tokenomics. Do you guys have a roadmap, some things that you want to introduce relative to the token? The governance, by the way, is super easy. Again, it's a quite slick experience. Tell us, a little bit about the tokenomics.
Yeah, so XVS, the tokenomics are interesting because everybody gets a piece of the protocol revenue. All you do is you buy your XVS, which is widely available on many exchanges, and then you can stake it into the XVS vault, and you start earning rewards and protocol fees. So it's a really easy way to boost up your upside. And XVS is, I think, one of the best buys right now out there, because if you look at the TVL to market cap ratio, you can see that it's very undervalued. So I'm investing in XVS, but this is not financial advice.
Entertainment only, right? Awesome. One last word for the community out there to get to know a little bit more about the way you see things, Brad, and just what makes you happy these days.
What makes me happy is having amazing conversations with people in the sun. It's so good to be back at conferences after 2 years of us being inside. And so, DeFi summer is coming. It's going to be a huge moment for DeFi. I can feel it in the air. So I'm really glad people are tuning in and paying attention because we're just getting started. DeFi Summer 3.0 is here.
It's here.
Yeah, man.
It's incredible. The speed of evolution and innovation is just incredible what open source can do, right?
For sure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Brad.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And we look forward to using your platform furthermore in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and blast that bell notification to get access to more of these timeless interviews. See you every week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock GMT. Next week, guys.